Hello everyone again. We are studying about the embryology of eyes and development of eyes. In part 1 I have talked about the optic vesicle and optic cup. If you didn't remember it, I will just make a short review about it. This is neural plate and it is get thickened in the middle part and make the thicken is black coat. Then it get a depression like a structure called optic sulcus, and the optic sulcus is detached, which is known as optic vesicle. This wing is called optic vesicle, and this is the part where this part is optic vesicle, and this is our full structure because the optic vesicle is a part of surface epidermis, so it is coming near to it. Now if we talk about this optic vesicle is already formed. Now about the lens vesicle, how the lens vesicle is formed. It is formed by the surface epidermis is thickened in the middle, and it is because of it is thickened, it get depressed, and due to depression and invagination, this part is called lens placode. Then this invaginated form is known as lens placode, and this is like this, okay. And look at this, I have already told you, this invaginates into it and it just cover it. And this is how lens vesicle is formed, okay. This is lens vesicle, and growth is irregular, so this part and this part is growing so fast and it is not growing, so it will be covered and the lens placode is in between this. And there is a deficiency called choroidal fissure and fetal fissure, which I have shown about this. This is our lens vesicle, you can say lens vesicle is under it, and this is called it's choroidal fissure, okay. Now talk about change in mesenchyme. What happened to the mesenchyme now? Developing of neural plate in CNS means central nervous system, is surrounded by the mesenchyme, which subsequently condensed to form managing. What this line want to told is, when neural plate is developing, it is covered by mesenchyme, which is a condensed part to form mesenchyme. In central nervous system, do you hear about mesenchyme? It is a layer, okay. And neural plate, outer layer of the neural plate is mesenchyme, if you understand like this, okay. And the extension of this mesenchyme also cover the optic vesicle, and this part neural plate condensed part is mesenchyme, okay, sorry, managing. Then the extension part of some part of mesenchyme is also covered the optic vesicle. Later the mesenchyme differentiate to form superficial fibrous layer and deeper vascular layer. Inner vascular layer of mesenchyme is carried into the optic cup, thus the choroidal fissure, okay. This is our lens vesicle, or now we have to told is optic cup because it has two parts, so it is known as optic cup. This is optic cup, this is our fissure which I have told about. This is here choroidal fissure, this is our choroidal fissure, okay. This part, imagine here is a part or layer which is mesenchyme, okay. And if you talk about here this is the inner part, okay, and this is the outer part. The inner part is, if you saw about differentiate inner vascular layer of mesenchyme, superficial, this is superficial, this is deeper vascular layer. This deeper vascular layer form retina further, okay. When the closure of the fissure is portion of mesenchyme which naso made its way in the edge, it cut off from the surrounding of mesenchyme and give rise to the hyaloid system of the vessels. This choroidal fissure, hyaloid vessels enters by these fissures, and it is closer due to it is cut from here. If you see the adult eyes, there is no hyaloid vessels because about fourth it is disappeared, and because it is cut off, so there no hyaloid vessels are going there, okay. Vascular mesenchyme growth in a OF, CF and take it into the hyaloid artery. This part is gone and take it to the hyaloid artery, okay. The fibrous layer of mesenchyme surrounded by the anterior part optic cup from the cornea. This anterior part forms the cornea, okay. Now if you talk about in easy way, there is two layer, okay. We have already learned about this inner vascular layer and outer fibrous layer, okay. Inner vascular layer and outer fibrous layer. Then if you talk about the anatomy of eyes, fibrous layer is anterior and posterior part. Okay, anterior part form the cornea, posterior part form the sclera. Okay, this is superficial fibrous layer which forms the antecornea, cornea and sclera. Okay, the inner vascular layer, which is neural crest, formed anterior hydropupillary layer, which is the layer, I think you have learned about this. Posterior, it has two parts. It forms two parts, ciliary body and choroid. Ciliary body is stroma. Have you learned about the part of this layer of the ciliary body? Okay, I think you have. And the muscles, ciliary muscles. And the iridopupillary layer means iris. Then iris stroma is also formed by the anterior part of the vascular layer. Okay. Now, if we talk about development of retina, I think this is the most important question in ophthalmology, the development of retina. Okay, this is really easy. I am also thinking about it so hard, but believe me, it is really easy. This is our optic cup. Okay, we have already learned about this. This is our optic stalk, which further form the optic nerve. Okay, this is neuroectoderm. If someone asks about you like what is retina is formed, the layer is neuroectoderm. Retina is formed by the neuroectoderm, and we have already learned about this is the inner vascular layer and outer superficial layer. Okay, the outer layer forms the pigmented epithelium of anterior retinal pigmented epithelium, and posterior pigmented epithelium of ciliary body and iris. Posterior part forms ciliary body of iris posterior, and this is pigmented layer of retina. Okay, retina pigmented epithelium layer, and the inner part forms the inner retina, which is neurosensory retina. Okay, and this gap, it is filled. Okay, and this forms the vitreous, second third vitreous, ciliary zonules and iris muscles is formed between this gap. Okay, and if you learn to smoothly about this, the outer part forms the pigmented epithelium of the retina and the ciliary body and iris, and the inner part always form the neurosensory retina. Okay, let's come out development of retina to wall of optic cup, namely nervous retina forms the inner layer and pigmented epithelium formed by the outer layer. Okay, this layer is inner, it forms pigmented epithelium. Sorry, outer part forms the pigmented epithelium and inner part forms the retinal pigmented epithelium. If you ask about why the development of retina, don't go by this. Okay, this is only for understanding. Just write this topic, development of retina, then forms, it develops from the two wall of the optic cup, inner wall and outer wall. Inner wall forms the nervous retina and outer wall forms the pigmented epithelium. Okay, now talk about inner layer. Inner layer had three layers. Okay, matrix cell layer, mantle layer and marginal layer. We have to learn about this. If you learn about the layer of the retina, there are 10 layers. Okay, first pigmented, then photoreceptor, then again in the inner nuclear plexus, outer nuclear plexus, nuclear layer, ganglion layer, this type of 10 layer. Okay, matrix cell layer, rods and cone. Metal layer, bipolar and ganglion cells supporting tissue and neuron. Okay, marginal layer form the ganglion cell axon, which forms the nerve fiber layer. Okay, now if you don't know about the layer of retina, I will just remember it. Okay, retinal pigmented epithelium, then photoreceptor of rod and cone, external limiting membrane, outer nuclear plexus, outer plexiform layer, inner nuclear layer, inner plexiform layer, and ganglion cell layer, nerve fiber layer, internal limiting membrane. These are the layer of retina. Okay, and in the formation of inner wall form this wall, these layers, and this layer form the layer of the retina, is photoreceptor of rod and cone, bipolar ganglion cell and ganglion cell of axon, which forms the nerve fiber layer. Okay, now there is also a snake of optic nerve formed by the layer of mesenchyme called menacing. Now the optic nerve snake is also formed by the mesenchyme. Myelinated of nerve fiber takes place to brain and distally and reaches the lamina and lamina curiosa just to perform birth and stop there. Okay, if someone asks about the retina, just describe this all, and if you want to describe about the outer layer also, fibrous layer, then just tell about pigmented epithelium is formed by this, and pigmented retinal pigmented epithelium, anterior part forms the retinal pigmented epithelium. Just finish it there. Okay, and some myelinated nerve fiber take place to the brain. In from these, some myelinated nerve fiber also take place in the brain, which is distal to lamina cubosa, and just before birth and stop there. Okay, I think you should not remember this also, but I will just make you remember. The some part of myelinated seat take place in brain because it is the part of brain and continuously it is both are doing at the same time. That why some part of each reaches to the lamina cribosa just before the birth. Before the birth it is gone there. Okay. Now if we talk about the crystalline lens. Okay, I am covering the retina and crystalline lens in one video. So crystalline lens, the lens of anterior wall don't divide and forms the lens epithelium, but posterior columnar cells do not divide but elongate to form primary lens fiber and obliterate the lumen of vesicle. Primary lens fiber occupy the central portion of the lens, forming a embryonic nucleus. This occurs between 5th and 8th week of the gestation. Secondary lens fiber is formed from equator cell and anterior epithelium, which remains active throughout the life. Okay, this is only theory part. I will make you remember by this. We have already learned about this. This is our optic cup. This is the part of lens vesicle. Okay, and this is our surface ectoderm. Lens vesicle. It has two parts, anterior part and posterior part. If you have already learned about the crystalline lens, you will know in anterior part there is epithelium and in posterior part there is no epithelium. And if someone asks you about why these are the both part, okay, in the outer surface, but why there is only epithelium in anterior part, not posterior part? Because of this. The anterior part don't divide, but the posterior part also don't divide, but it get elongated. Elongated means like this, elongated to cover this gap. Okay, and because this is elongated, so in the future eyes there is no non-posterior, it had no posterior epithelium. This is all talk about this. Okay, you can do it yourself. It is elongated, that's why it is not. It is on occur in the 5th and 8th week of gestation, and secondary lens fiber formed by the equator cells of anterior epithelium, which remains active throughout the life. The anterior epithelium is active throughout the life because there forms the secondary lens fiber. Primary lens fiber occupy the central portion of the lens and embryonic nucleus. In between, if you learn about the lens, there is always between here is embryonic nucleus. Then the primary lens fiber forms this part and the secondary lens fiber from the outer part. If you think about this, okay. If you talk about the nucleus, there are 3 types of nucleus in it: fetal nucleus, infetal nucleus, and adult nucleus. 3rd and 8th month, last week to puberty, and after the puberty and cortex. These are the time. Okay. Lens capsule. How the lens capsule is formed? Lens capsule is a true basement membrane produced by the lens epithelium on its external aspect. Lens capsule is nothing but it is a hard covering for the covering of lens. It is the outer part of the lens. Okay, if you talk about the microscopic anatomy of lens, there is capsule, lens fiber, nucleus, and many things. Okay, then lens capsule it is true basement membrane. Okay, and formed by the lens epithelium. This much you only have to learn. Okay, now it is cornea. I think the video is too long, so I will share about cornea in next video. Please, if you are seeing this is my first time, just appreciate me and like and do subscribe. Really I want review from you. Please comment if you don't understand anything, or if you don't understand my language. I can switch off language because I know about English, Nepali, and Hindi also. So in which language do you want me to make you study and you feel comfortable, just say me. Okay, bye bye. Just do like, subscribe, and comment and ask any question freely.